Hey guys, welcome into Faith in Football. My name is Neil and I will be your host. I know it looks a little different. I'm in a different setting. I realized that all season I haven't been poolside in a hot minute. So I decided to come on out here, do a little playoff prep for week 14. A lot of you are trying to get into the playoffs. Some of you are already locked in. Some of you are already locked out. But don't worry, I'm here to help you, whatever your situation may be. But first, as always, we're putting faith first. So what is our verse for today, and what are we talking about? We're talking about your speech. Now, I'm not talking about a speech. I'm talking about your speech. Like, how do you speak? What comes out of your mouth, how that affects your life and what happens around you. So our verse today is from James chapter 4, verse 13 and 15. Actually, I'll tell you what, I'll go 13 through 15. How about that? We see in James where it tells us about how we should speak. You know, we always look around us and we're going, you know what, I'm going to go do this, I'm going to do that. You know, I'm going to make plans. We got all these plans. We got apps for us to have reminders about things that we need to do, things that we've put on our calendar. How many of us on our calendar have time for God? Think about it. Go through your calendar on your phone, go to your little app, go to your reminders. Is there anything in there about go to church, pray, read your Bible, meditate on God's word? I seriously doubt that most of us have those things on our phone. It's usually something that pops up when we have free time, but nowadays, really, who has free time? Our lives are so just hectic where we find a hard time to make time for the one who created time. Think about that. So in James chapter 4, verse 13, this is what it reads. It says, "Look here, you who say, today or tomorrow we are going to a certain town and we'll stay there a year. We will do business there and make a profit." Sounds like a pretty good plan, right? But then in chapter 14, he asks another question. It says, how do you know what your life will be like tomorrow? A better question. How many of us know what our life's going to be in 5 minutes? We don't. Think about anyone who's ever had a tragic event. In saying that, I'd like to take a moment and give my condolences to the Thomas family. Demarius Thomas recently just passed away at age 33. Now I'm 47. You know, that's 15 or that's 12 years difference. So I can't imagine losing someone that young in my life. And I've done some looking here, and I really can't find out why he passed away. It hasn't been released. But regardless, he passed away suddenly. Do you think that anyone in his life thought that they were going to lose him at age 33? I mean, he just retired last year from the NFL. The Bronco franchise was ready to welcome him with open arms in some kind of capacity to their coaching staff, to their organization. They would have loved to have added him, but now they can't. But we don't know what happened. We don't know what the circumstances were. All we know is that he's gone. It continues on in verse 14 to say, your life is like a morning fog. It's here a little while, then it's gone. There's another translation that says your life is but a vapor, is here for a short time and then it is gone. It says in verse 15, what you ought to say is, if the Lord wants us to live and do this or that. So think about that. Like, we say all the time, we're going to go do this, we're going to go do that. But how many times do we say, if it is the Lord's will, we're going to go do this and that? You see how that little small change in your speech can change everything? There's always an inflection in your voice. And, we can say things to our spouse or to our kids, and we get a different reaction. Like if I tell my son, hey, get up, we're going to the gym. He popping up and he's like, cool. His attitude is positive. But if I wake him up and go, get up, we're going to the gym, that's a whole different inflection. That gives a whole different attitude. So watch what you say and how you say what you say. It can change a lot. Make sure that you're including God in all of your plans, not just the major ones, but the minor ones too. It's important that we put our faith in the one who created everything instead of putting our faith in us, in everything. And we don't really think about that until we're in trouble, until we're, at a point where it's like a last resort. Now, I don't have my prayer first bracelet on because it fell off the other day, and I gave another one away to one of the guys at work. But I try to keep in mind that you need to pray first, not last. Because many of us get stuck in, we'll go do something will happen to us, we'll get in a bind, we'll try to get out of it ourselves. And whether that's, losing a job or losing a loved one, it's a little windy. Sorry if you get a little wind in the mic. But, we try to fix it ourselves. And me, I'm a fixer. I'm a guy. It's in our DNA. We're supposed to fix things. We're supposed to be the ones who are dependable. But sometimes we need to step back. We need to let God be the fixer. We need to follow his lead instead of trying to lead ourselves and then turn around and go, hey, Lord, I could use some help here. If you were led by the Lord, then you wouldn't have to do that. But if you're trying to lead God, that's kind of like trying to pull your car. Doesn't work too well. But if you get in the car and drive it, that works a lot better. So if you get in the Lord and let him take you where you need to go, it's kind of how it's designed, guys. So I hope that word was uplifting. I hope it's helpful. Once again, our deepest condolences to the Thomas family for the loss of Demarius Thomas. I was reading where one of his final tweets about when he retired, he said, "I'm done." And I find it very prophetic in the fact that he was taken, that the Lord decided to take him at an early age. And for him to say that, I don't know if he was a man of faith. I don't know if what his religious background was, but I can only assume by that statement that he had some kind of inner peace at the end. At least I'm hoping he did. I'm praying that he did. So once again, our condolences to the Thomas family. He will be missed, but just remember to live on in his legacy and continue the good works that he started. Just as the Lord tries to continue it, well, he does continue a good work that he started in us. So let's get into the football aspect of faith in football right now. As I said before, it is week 14, and some of us are hanging on by a thread. Some of us are already locked in. Some of us are just looking forward to next year. So regardless of what it is, regardless of how you're doing, I hope that this finds you as a Dalvin Cook manager, having Dalvin Cook started on your roster from last night. I'm recording this very early Friday morning after the absolute extraordinary game that Dalvin Cook had. Let me just pull up his final stats real quick, because I know at halftime he had like 144 yards and 2 touchdowns already. Now, if you were like me and you had to go out and pick up a little something, then here we go. So Dalvin Cook's final stat line: 27 carries, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 reception for 17 yards. And that was just kind of like a cherry on top of the sundae for Dalvin Cook managers, where if you were in a PPR, he got you the 1 point plus the 17. So you got, 2.7 points on top of your monster rush game. Look, Dalvin Cook got a lot of flack early. He's never been one to be healthy late in the season. And with this recent shoulder injury that he was dealing with, a lot of people thought he was going to be out at least 3 games, which meant that unless you were locked into that first round bye, you weren't going to see Dalvin Cook on your roster for the playoffs. But I'm telling you, this man, he got that sling on. He was fine. And I think that Detroit loss kind of motivated him just a little more than what he might normally have been. So I think being on the sideline for that loss, losing to the Lions and the way that they lost to the Lions with the lack of offense was just absolutely necessary, for lack of a better word, for Dalvin Cook to be back in the lineup this week. So if you started Dalvin Cook, good job. If you didn't, I hope you already had a playoff spot locked in. You can get him next week. Now, as I was saying, if you were fortunate enough to go get KJ Osborne, you got a little boost. You got a little 17 points. Let's see, his final stat line: 3 receptions for 83 yards and a touchdown. That monster 68-yard touchdown from Kirk Cousins to basically seal the victory, and for them to hang on Thursday night was extremely necessary. Najee Harris did pretty good for guys last night. It did take until the end. He had 20 carries, 96 yards, 1 touchdown. He was 3 for 3 on his receptions with a receiving touchdown and 10 yards. So not a whole lot of yardage on the receiving end of it, but when you're playing PPR, it's more the catches and the volume than the yardage for a lot of players, especially running backs. Let's see. Claypool actually finished with a decent line: 1 carry, 2 yards, 8 receptions on 9 targets for 93 yards. So you got 17.5 points in most PPR platforms. So your Steelers, your Vikings, they're all done, along with Big Ben's career. If you watched the game last night, it was absolutely gut-wrenching to watch him. And just like they say, every dog has his day. He had that one good throw to Pat Frymouth there at the end. He got knocked out. But I think it's clear. It's pretty safe to say that Big Ben is done, and the rumors of him this being his last year are going to be more than just rumors. Come week 18 when they're done, and I don't see them making the playoffs. So now, what to do if you're on that edge? Your trade deadline is probably passed, so you're not trading anymore. But here's the thing, and this is important. Go look on your waiver wire. Somebody out there is panicking. Somebody out there did something pretty dumb. In our league, in my league of record, Mike Williams wound up on the waiver wire. I know. Mike Williams. Like, who just drops Mike Williams? I don't understand it, but he was dropped. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to pick him back up because I did trade him away earlier in the season. But that's because he wasn't doing that much, and I needed some help winning, and he wasn't helping me. And that's the thing, is that when you have a big name, you've got to be aware that and I've said it before, I'll say it again, the hardest thing in fantasy is to get off of the big name player. You've got a big name player, you feel like you have to start that player just based on their name. Let me run down my roster for you guys, and I'll show you a little bit about what I'm talking about. So these are our standings in my league of record, and you see that Emmanuel Sanders was dropped for Mike Williams. Let's see. Let's go to my team. And again, guys, if you are not on the Sleeper app, please, next year, get you on the Sleeper app. They're absolutely phenomenal. They do great work. Keep it up, guys. And those of you who have seen my lineup before might be looking and going, wait a minute, I didn't know you had Tom Brady. I didn't. I traded for him. Yes, I know. I did make a monster trade for Tom Brady. Involved Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, and Miles Sanders. Now, you might be asking why. Here's the thing. Coming up, Philly's got to play Washington. Jalen Hurts is basically used as a RB2. Their defense hasn't been that great, so they're going to be stuck in a negative game script, which means that they're not going to run the ball a whole lot. So it was time for me to move on. I know I just got Lamar, but I wasn't liking what I was seeing. I looked at Brady, and as much as I can't stand having Tom Brady on my team, I kind of need him because he is the number one quarterback in all of fantasy. He's the most consistent, and he's got a lot of targets, and I just happen to have one of them. I was also able to let go of Mark Andrews because I do have Dawson Knox. I was able to let go of Miles Sanders because I do have Javonte Williams and Jonathan Taylor, Devontae Swift, Myles Gaskin. So I'm pretty covered at running back, and I'm confident in letting him go. But as you see right here, my lineup is not really a who's who of the positions that are lined up. It's more of a who's doing what when. If you see Dontrell Hilliard, he's in my starting lineup right now because I'm waiting on news that DeAndre Swift is able to play. If he's able to play, he will be in my starting lineup. Now, go down to my bench. Now, Jonathan Taylor has been a rock star. Unfortunately, he's on a bye. Fortunately, it's not during the first week of the the fantasy playoffs, which if this was a normal year and they had a bye this late, it would be. Brandon Ayuk, while he is a decent, recognizable name, he's not the name in San Francisco. It is Deebo Samuel, but Deebo is dealing with soft tissue injury, and he has a history of late season injuries. So Brandon Ayuk last year was phenomenal down the stretch, won people some championships last year. Mike Evans, a big name but kind of inconsistent at times. But he is definitely a go-to for Brady, so I'm happy about that one. And the important thing to look at this late in the season is basically the rest of season. And if we go down here, we look at Buffalo. Now, I'm not worried about Buffalo just for the simple fact that Brady has faced Buffalo twice a year for the last 2 decades. We actually had a question on the Sleeper app in the question and answer session where somebody actually said, should I start Taysom Hill or Tom Brady? I hoped they were joking, but they really weren't. And I found that hard to believe, but they weren't. But we look at the rest of the season, they faced New Orleans, and while Mike Evans might get shut down by Marshawn Lattimore, the rest of the team, this is why I got Tom Brady, because I expect Tom Brady to light up a weakened New Orleans defense, also a weakened Carolina defense, and then praying that, Lord willing, I make it to the Super Bowl and they get the Jets week 17. I can't ask for better than that for a championship matchup for my quarterback and wide receiver. Now, Dawson Knox, got a good name there. Darnell Mooney is somebody who's come on late. Dontrell Hilliard, like I said, I'm waiting to see what the lineup looks like in Tennessee and what DeAndre Swift's status will be Sunday. This is why it's important to make sure that you have the quickest updates and the most recent updates for your fantasy league, okay? But it's really, really hard, like I said, to get off of certain players. And let's see. Trying to think about, oh, here we go. Now, Zeke Elliott, that is probably the one consistent player that nobody can get off of that they need to. While he might end up being a top 12 running back for fantasy, he's not helping your team a whole lot. Okay. While he might have a game here or there, and it might be so monstrous that it overshadows the bad games that he has, he's not helping your team. He's clogging up your roster. Okay. So, like, let's look at his production here. Okay. So week 1 was 5 points. He was coming off injury. You're pretty good. And then you get down after the bye, you're looking at 11, 12. That's not what you're looking for. You're looking for that 19, but that was against Atlanta. That's expected. 12 against KC. Had a pretty decent game against Vegas, against the Raiders. But then dealing with injury, he gets 6.7 points. And then Tony Pollard just took off. Now, Tony Pollard is dealing with a foot issue. So he's probably going to get a lot more touches this week against Washington. You guys know I'm looking forward to this game. So what kind of useful information can I give you for going into the playoffs? If you're trying to get in the playoffs, look, don't treat it any different than week 2. Okay. Don't panic. All you can do is play the matchup. That's all you can do right now. Okay. You're not going to be able to trade. The waiver wire is barren. It looks like old Mother Hubbard's covered. Okay. So what I'm telling you, if you are not locked into the playoffs, all you can do is play the matchup and just hope for the best. That's all you can do right now. Because it's what we're playing for in League of Record. This belongs to my wife right now. So she's letting me borrow this just to show you guys, okay? You can't see it, but my son's in the background behind the camera. He's claiming that he's going to take it. I love the fact that not only am I locked into the playoffs, but both my sons who are playing with me and my wife are both locked into the playoffs. The only thing that is up in our league for contention is ranking. The way that certain things fall, it could change up the rankings. But as of right now, my wife and Dusty, from Keller's Bakery, who I still have the water bet with. And if you don't follow me on Twitter, go to @Faith, the letter N, football 1, and you can find me there. Sorry, I left my drink over on the other side. Had to have him hand it to me. And remember, not a sponsor, but I love this stuff. And Bang, if you're listening, I'd love a sponsorship. But like I said, Dusty from Keller's Bakery is locked into the number 2 position unless he loses. He's got enough points to where if all three, if positions 2, 3, and 4 lose, which all have the same record, then he will stay right where he's at with a first round bye week 15. If he loses and we have the right people win, then he'll fall and he'll have to play week 15. He's got a good squad, so I'm not looking forward to facing him if I have to play him in the playoffs. But anyway, I always want to say thank you to Keller's Bakery. They are definitely my sweetest sponsor. If you're in the Lafayette, Louisiana area, you can find them at 627 Lafayette Street off the Youngsville Highway. You can also find them on Facebook if you need to place an order or just stop by. And if you mention that Faith in Football sent you, remember, you get your 2 free mini cupcakes with your order. So go down there, check them out, get you some donuts, get you something for that holiday party. You got to bring something to the holiday party. You can't show up empty-handed. And trust me, I know from Thanksgiving, there's nothing better than a pie from Keller's to make you the hit of the party, okay? So if you mention Faith in Football sent you, you get 2 free mini cupcakes. Go down there, check out their pies. And it doesn't have to be for a special occasion. It can be for any day. Everybody's got a sweet tooth. Everybody needs a little something, okay? Go down there, check them out. They got a slew of pies, cakes. They do king cakes year round. So go down there and check them out. Tell them Faith in Football sent you and catch your 2 free mini cupcakes. Also, always want to thank my oldest sponsor, Zia of Lafayette. If you are in the Lafayette area, please go down there and see them off of Duce Road behind the Grand Theater off of Johnson and in front of Red Laurel's Health Club. You can call them at 406-0013. Also find them on DoorDash, on Grubhub, on Waiter, any of your food delivery apps that you have. And right now, if you go down there and you are looking for a holiday gift and you want to pick up a gift card, go down there, pick up a gift card. You get a little something extra when you spend $100 in gift cards. And trust me, it's definitely worth it. Get you something for yourself along with something for the friends or family, okay? Guys, that's about it for this episode of Faith in Football, but I want to remind you, going forward in your day, remember, it's about the speech. Remember, include God's will in your life. Remember, it's how you speak it that makes it exist, okay? As always, my name is Neil. You've been watching Faith in Football, and also remember, football is good, but God is greater. So you guys have a good one. I hope that you have extreme success in your fantasy playoffs. I hope you get in there. And if you didn't, don't worry about it. It's okay. Use these last weeks as practice. Try some new things. Try some stuff that you've been scared to try throughout the season because you've been trying to get in the playoffs. If you're out of it, you're out of it. And just watch and learn for next year. Okay? Guys, y'all have a great weekend. We'll see you next time on Faith and Football.